It's time for Veterans Issues, the show that brings you information about veterans, military, and their family. Now here's your host, Ken Rollins.
Welcome to Veterans Issues. Ken Rollins here, and I do appreciate you tuning in this week. And this is brought to you by the Red, White, and Blue and the Kia stores, in Gadsden and down here in Anniston, the Kia stores. Got some great deals for you there. I'll make you a chance to talk about that in a little bit. Today's guest used to be like a co-host on here. He's on so much, but
what do you mean used to be?
He can't behave himself. He was former employment representative for the Alabama Department of Employment Agency, and his name is Sonny Miller, and he won't be quiet, but so we'll get back to him here in a minute. Stay where you are, be right back. Welcome back. Thanks a lot for tuning in this week. I got a guest. I called him, asked him could he come back on, because I know he's always got a bunch of information. He used to come on the show regular, and when he worked for the Alabama Employment Agency and our department or whatever, and he was a veterans representative for them, and he'd come on and tell me about the jobs available, and he's been retired from there. He's a retired United States Army, and he's just been traveling around, but he's still got some time to drop by and bring us up to speed on things. And welcome to the show, Sonny Miller.
I'm glad you brought me back.
I'm glad you listen, when we're going into the spot and stuff, you can't be over here yakking, because this is professional television stuff.
Since when? Things have changed since I was here last.
We call it the awesomest show. How's that?
Okay, that's good.
Well, let's just welcome back. I'm glad you took me up on the thing to come back in here, because we always get to smile a little bit, but there's some serious stuff going on out there. You was you a sergeant first class? Is that
right.
Yeah. Okay. And how many years were you in the military?
Oh, 23 years.
23 years.
23.
And you retired, and I know you from doing radio. You did radio, and
right.
Then you went to work for the Alabama Employment Service, which
21 years.
21 years.
Yep.
Okay, that's an awesome thing. You used to come on the show, and you'd say we got 50 jobs in Alabama, or 150 jobs, or whatever, and I'd hear there's no jobs available, but you always had jobs. You always had a list of jobs off of USA.gov.
Yeah. Well, a lot of folks go to a newspaper first to look for jobs. And out of the top 10 jobs, job seekers, that ranks somewhere around 8th or 9th. Newspapers, you look at that and say there are no jobs, but they're out there. All they have to do is go to joblink.alabama or usajobs.opm.gov. You see all types of jobs available. Some of the jobs you can only apply online, but they're out there. You have to go looking for them.
When I left the depot, when I was retired from the depot, it had got to where you couldn't put in a paper application anymore. You had to go online.
Right.
And I don't know if I can say this tactfully. When I hired in, I became a supervisor after a short period of time. And I had a lot of opportunities to hire people. And without mentioning names, I was given an opportunity to hire. I had 9 jobs open at one time. And this conversation was, Ken, do you have anybody you want to select first, or you have any relatives, or friends, or, that was the wording. And that was back in the day with the old, good old boy thing.
Yep.
And so I can honestly say I never selected anybody that I knew. I've had some that was recommended I selected, but I never selected any family or friends that I knew to that. But then the system changed, where it don't matter if you knew the president, you could not help anybody. They had to be based on, and it's still this way. And for those that's watching, when you put in for a job on USA.gov, they're looking for things like, example, a warehouse job. They're looking for keywords such as inventory, forklift, and stuff like that, things that you would do in a warehouse, storage, and all those kind of things that you look for that keyword, because if you don't mention forklift, or you don't mention barcoding or scanning or inventory, if you don't mention some of those keywords, you probably won't get that
You
job.
remember, where do you find the keywords? The duties paragraph.
Yeah.
That's where they'll be located.
Absolutely.
I don't know if it's forklift, but the official title is industrial truck operator.
Yeah, I've hired a few of those, and I had to put the keywords in there. I had, when I advertised a job, the personnel office would ask me, what keyword do you want to be used? Then I would give them 4 or 5 keywords. So when they announced my job, those that didn't touch on the word inventory or forklift or warehouse, any of that stuff, they didn't even get reconsidered. So for those that's out there, it's a little bit of inside stuff.
This is something that's not known, but when somebody applies online, the application goes up to Huntsville because they are the hiring authority. And up there, the resume is scanned by a computer, not a person. And it's programmed to see those keywords. And if it doesn't see those keywords, the applicant is not qualified.
It's like, I remember one time I saw they had jobs for small arms operators, repairs, small arms repairers. And some of the applications was paid killer, thing like that. What is your experience? Well, it's true, but you look at things like assembly, disassembly of, you look at the things you had to do with that weapon is assemble, disassemble, cleaning, repairing of, replacing parts, those kind of things. You need to think what they're looking for on the other end. And,
I've said it before, the hardest part about finding a job is filling out the application.
Yeah.
Little things like fill out in ink and you put it in pencil, doesn't leave the office.
Yeah. Let me go off the track there a little bit. What have you been doing since you left here?
Oh, I was back in the hospital again.
I saw that about the leg.
Yeah, the foot got reinfected, and I spent 4 days in the hospital. And while I was there, there was a real severe, loud thunderstorm. And, of course, the nurses remembered me from last year. Poor things. But anyway, with this thunderstorm going on outside, I told them it wasn't a thunderstorm. It was a battle between the demons from hell and the angels from heaven fighting to see who had to take me in case I died.
All I can say about that is this.
Yes.
Bless their hearts. Anybody that had to be provide health care for you, that would just be awesome.
It's sort of like Kizzy. Every time she sees me, she throws holy water on me and starts speaking in Latin. The nurses do the same thing. Yeah. So I survived the ordeal, being the truly great hero that I am. And that brings up a subject. I spent 4 days in the hospital. They cleaned out the wound, as they called it, almost 2 inches by 2 inches.
We may have people eating supper while we're doing this. Go ahead.
They were. So 15-minute operation, scooping out all this bad stuff. I saw the doctor twice in 4 days. The bill was $54,011. I almost was in a cardiac arrest, but I was fortunate. My insurances picked things up. But I'm telling the veterans out there, if you don't have some type of supplemental insurance, you better get it fast.
We'll talk about that in a minute. But I just remember where a guy with a plumber came into the house, and after he got through with about 30 minutes, he handed the guy a bill for $125. The guy said, "Wait a minute. $125, you wasn't here 25 minutes. He says, "I'm a doctor and I don't make that kind of money." And the plumber said, "When I was a doctor, I didn't make that kind of money either." So,
he's stealing my jokes, folks.
That reminded me of that. We'll come back. I'm going to talk about insurance and a few other things we got there. Stay where you are. We're going to talk more with Sonny. We'll come back. We're going to try to get serious here in just a minute. Come back. Welcome back in. We're talking with Sonny Miller. He used to be with the Alabama Employment Service, and he was a Veterans Employment representative for them. And before we go any further, Sonny, I want to give a shout out to somebody that you and I are, every day we talk to her. She lives up in New York. Her name is Nancy Bray. So you want to, let's just look over. I'm going to do in camera 1, you get camera 2, and let's just give Nancy a salute. This is for you, Nancy Bray, all the way up there. And she watches us every week.
Auburn?
From up in, where's it
at? What's Albany? Albany, New York.
I wanted to ask her sometime, was it Albany or Albany? Now down in Georgia, they call it Albany, Georgia.
Yeah.
You ever know that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
so that's she's in Albany. And,
well, there used to be a program called, geez, I forgot what it was. We'd put jobs in, and it would go nationwide.
Yeah.
And her job up there in New York was somebody from Arizona would call in about a specific job in Anniston. She would call our office to make sure the job is still open. And America's Job Bank, that's what it was.
I didn't know all that. I just knew on Facebook
Yeah.
every day, and she watches our show every week, and she comments on the show. And
She's a good old gal up north.
Good old gal, Nancy Bray.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Anyhow, you got a big shout out there, Nancy. You can send a check later. So, we were talking about the insurance you went by there.
Yeah.
The Affordable Care Act. Let me say something here. Do you get a 1095 in from the VA?
No.
Okay. When you file your taxes this year, you're going to have to show a 1095 showing that you have insurance for IRS purposes, to show that under the Affordable Care Act that you have insurance. Mm-hmm. And whether it's Medicare, Medicaid, TRICARE, whatever, I've got 2 of them so far. One for my Blue Cross and one for my VA. The VA disability thing, I got one from the VA showing that my care comes through the VA, and it's a 1095. I file that with my taxes.
Yeah.
Because IRS is now looking at, when you file your taxes, you don't have insurance. This is one of the ways they're going to get their money.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to get that fine, is if you file your taxes, you can do this without a 1095. But if you don't have insurance, you're going to get a fine of about $800 for not having insurance. And this is what everybody, not just veterans, but everybody needs to be aware of. So I'm getting ready to go to do my taxes. I got 2 of them so far. A lot of people call me and say, hey, I got this. And if you got one of those, if you're a VA, especially a disabled veteran, 100%, you're going to get one if you hadn't already got it. Keep that and put it with your taxes. If you have another kind of insurance, a Blue Cross or United or some other kind of insurance, you need to have a form showing proof that you have insurance. Otherwise, IRS is the one that controls your taxes, so they can hold it back if you got any
money coming back.
Yeah, that's it.
Interesting.
I want to talk about a few things here. One is there's a lot of people here that served in Camp Lejeune.
Yeah.
That's over as
that's Marine country for those that don't know.
And I've mentioned a few times, but not much, about the water contamination over there. And I think it's like 1953 to the 80s, 1987 or something like that. If you served at Camp Lejeune, then you have been exposed to some contaminated water. Now, some of that, as I read it, is a list of things that this has caused.
Right.
List of diseases that could cause. So if you was stationed between the 1950s and the 80s in Camp Lejeune, you need to get down to your veteran service officer, and if you've got an illness that could be associated with contaminated water, you need to file for it.
I know a man who spent 4 years in the Marine Corps at Camp Lejeune, and he's 57, and he's got all types of health problems now, and he has 2 children with severe health problems. So he was not aware of this, that the water there was poisonous. You know, the government said, there's nothing wrong here. Yeah. Have another glass of water.
Same thing they told about in Flint there for a while.
That's right. So the first thing that a veteran's got to do is register with the VA.
Right.
That's the very first thing. And they're working on funding for the program and any financial assistance to the veteran and their relatives.
Well, you know, if there is a disease that they have found that's associated with that, and you go in and file a claim for it, you're going to get retroactive pay back to that period of time, and
that's
your
true.
Disability will depend on the extent of how bad you got something. So,
you know, I haven't drank water in years. Gospel truth.
I had some.
When I found out what fish do in it, I haven't drunk water since.
But see, on the other side of that coin, we were very fortunate here in Calhoun County because I can name you 2 colonels retired to here for one reason, because of the water.
The water?
Because of the water. They don't, if you go up into the northern states and down in Florida, even some of that sulfur, some even Texas, you've done in there. There's some bad water. And you go out to California, you can't drink it. You cannot.
Yeah.
It's like the Mexican
Well,
one.
now remember those colonels that retired here because of the water. Are they aware that a lot of folks that were stationed at Fort McClellan may glow in the dark now?
Yeah, no, that's another thing that I keep on Facebook. I warned the folks that's stationed out at Fort McClellan that we went to Vietnam. We have the Agent Orange thing, but that Agent Orange was out there at Fort McClellan too, being handled, and it has not been justified yet. But it's going to come around probably in our lifetime where people that was exposed to it out there. One of the other things I want the veterans out there to be aware of, I didn't talk to you about this. When you go into the VA nowadays, they want to know, do you have a weapon? Do you own a weapon? And if you do own a weapon, what kind is it? Where do you keep it located? You got a trigger guard on it. And if they've ever given you medicine like a small Xanax or anything like that, then you become, if you're post-traumatic stress disorder, that's a mental condition. You got this on the edge of, just like with Social Security, saying veterans will turn over their weapons because they've been on the mental side, and that's so we got to watch that and keep. If you don't, I'm not telling you go in there and lie about your weapon, because the last time I was in there, they asked me what kind I had, and I told them, "Where's that?" And they dashed your car. Then they told me to pick up a trigger guard on the way out, safety thing. And so they have a record of my weapon, what I've got, what caliber it is, and where I keep it located. So that's something that came out yesterday that the VA is going to be used as part of this executive action.
Yeah.
For recouping.
Let's see, I was at the VA clinic in Oxford 2 weeks ago, and I was asked, do you own a weapon?
Yeah.
And I said, I don't have to answer that. She said, no, you don't. Okay. And that's as far as I went.
Yeah, it's something that veterans need to be aware of. They are asking. So if you're going into the VA healthcare system for the first time, and there's a lot of people out there doing that, they need to be aware that you're going to get asked these questions.
Yep.
And there's a reason for it. If you think about it, the president's executive action goes right on down through and says, okay, we control these federal organizations. That's just like say we have raised minimum wage and all the people in the federal government. He can do that in the federal government, but and he can do that to people that's getting Medicaid, Social Security, people that's getting VA benefits. All those are federal programs, so we at the mercy of him to do that.
That's right.
Yeah. I got less than 30 seconds right here. What you got?
I got more than 30 seconds.
I know you do. That's the reason I'm gonna say we come back on here again. But.
Yeah. Okay. There's been a change in the law concerning the Reserve Tuition Assistance Program. Those that are already enrolled in that program can continue up to a maximum of 4 years.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to hold you over.
Okay.
You get that back in the control room, we're going to hold him over against his will. Be right back. Got news you can use. Welcome back to Veterans Issues, talking with Sonny Miller. Sonny, I interrupted you there in the middle of that. You were telling about the reserve.
Yeah. This program, a lot of reservists did not qualify for the regular GI Bill. So this program was assisting people to pick up their degrees. And the law has changed now so that anybody enrolled in the system can complete it as long as it's within 4 years. But somebody new that wants to join the program cannot do it. The law has changed.
Okay. I'm sorry I cut you off early.
No,
Thank
you're
you
not.
for doing the show today.
No, you're not.
But
I'm taking over again, folks.
But look what you left on the table. That means that you've got to come back and finish it up. So I'm going to hold you to that. Just look in the camera too and say,
y'all.
I'll be back.
I'll be back.
I'll be back.
Pumping hard.
Okay. Anyhow, this week I want to tell you about some things. First, I want you to write this down. That's the reason I say get your pen. I've had people call me, they're out there on the highway, and they say, what is the address for the new parking deck over at Birmingham? The new address is 2415 7th Avenue South, 2415 7th Avenue South in Birmingham. And you'll see the thing up here that says Veterans Parking. It's ours. So and a couple weeks from now, hopefully, we're working on it. I have the new director of the VA down here with the public affairs director, and we're going to talk about all the latest. I'm going to tell you something that's really big news out of the Birmingham VA. They did their first ever kidney transplant, and it's gone fantastic. The patient's doing real good. The first kidney transplant, and that is awesome there at the Birmingham VA. Again, I missed it a couple of weeks, but Miss D that worked down at the clinic, she had over 30 years down there, and she wanted me to thank all the veterans that have allowed her to take care of them over the years. So Miss D is retired, and if she's watching, I'm telling the folks out there about her because she wanted me to pass that along to you. Remember that 22 veterans are taking their lives every day. 22 veterans are going to take their life. As you watch this show, whether it's in the morning or in the evening, during this period of time, 7 days a week, we lose 22 veterans to suicide. And there's reasons for that, and I'm going to have some of the clergy to come on, and we're going to talk about that hopefully as soon as possible. Now, I talked to you about that Senate Bill 51, that one where unearmarking the funds would take away all the funding for the Alabama veterans through the veterans' homes and et cetera, and put that funds over into the general fund, and we would fight with Medicaid and the prison system and all that stuff. Senator Kim Ward, that I've told you about, that introduced the bill, has decided to redline that part of the bill. They will not affect the veterans, so we don't have to worry about it in the Senate. And Representative Mac McCutcheon out of Madison County, after that happened, after the senator removed his, he decided he would not introduce his in the House. So it looks like the veterans may skate by this session without being hit, taking away all the benefits that they've earned. The other part that's coming down to Senator Hightower out of Baldwin County is introducing legislation on the flat tax. Now that's going to affect everybody that's military retirees, all you folks who retired from the depot, Fort McClellan, all these places. If you're retired from Social Security, the flat tax is going to kill you. Not kill you literally, but we're going to talk more about that. We'll have some people on here talking about that soon. But that's coming up, Senator Hightower out of South Alabama, and people are going to have to get on the phone and talk to him about that. And so let's see. This week, we gave a salute out to Nancy Bray up in New York, but we can give this salute. There's a lot of people made phone calls on behalf of this legislation. A lot of people, enough that nearly set the phone on fire. And for all of you that made a call and stood up for veterans, this salute's for you, and I'll see you next week here on Veterans Issues. Salute. We're out of here.